जा देने की तड़प बार बार उठती है, जंग भी करते हैं हम मोहब्बत की तरह। And then he looked at me, he gave me a hug. He said, "भाई, तू स्टार बन गया यार." And I was like, "What?" I remember another thing was when I had to rest because we were shooting some 20 hours, 22 hours. It was crazy number of hours every day. And when I had to rest in between, when we were shooting on the trains and the train stations, I used to sleep on the railway benches.
Hi guys, this is Mini Devan and you're watching Bollywood Live in India.com. Today we have with us someone who we all loved on our screen since decades, and we have all loved his skills, his performances, none other than Vivek Oberoi. Hi Vivek, how are you?
Hi Mini, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Well, I think it comes from the heart and it's so good to see you because we have been seeing so less of you, and I really love meeting you time and again. So to begin with, 2022 is on a roll now. So how is the new year going so far for you?
Well, it started out a little difficult because I was in Dubai and I ended up with Omicron, which I think everybody has had for a bit. But then I was fine. And now I'm here shooting after a full recovery and enjoying that. Lots of work happening. Yeah. And Verses of War is about to release my first short film as an actor, as a producer, my poetic tribute to the Indian Armed Forces. So I think it's a special 2022, starting off on a good note.
Indeed. And since we are on the subject of Verses of War, I think all of us are really excited, to see you in this genre. But having said that, please tell all the viewers perhaps about your character. What's the film about?
So, Mini, I think the Indian Armed Forces have always had a very special place in my heart. My Nanaji, General Pathak, was a true hero. He fought a lot of wars for India, from the China War to Pakistan War. He was a Mahavir Chakra medal winner. So he won the Mahavir Chakra. He won the Paramveer Seva medal. And when I was a little kid, all the other kids used to go to my Nani to listen to Raja Rani ki kahani and all of that. And I used to sit with my Nanaji to say, "Tell me stories of war," and wo jo ek deshbhakti ki bhavna hai, that spirit of Indianness, that patriotism for a nation, I think came from those amazing moments spent with my Nana. And that's why the uniform has a very special place in my heart. Yeah. This film was a tribute to that spirit of people willing to die for their country with a smile on their face. That spirit of those women who are okay to allow their families, their loved ones to go to battle and to be there on the war front, knowing that they can lose their lives. अभी कोरोना का समय चल रहा है, हम अपने फैमिली वालों को कहीं ऐसी जगह जाने नहीं देते हैं जहाँ पे पोटेंशियल है कि कोरोना लग जाए, बीमारी लग जाए. We are always saying, stay safe, be careful. Imagine for 75 years, our men have been guarding the boundaries and the borders of India. Our Jawans have been doing that. Imagine the tribute of their families, the sacrifice of their families to the nation. So this is a poetic tribute to that. That was the idea. The idea was to play an army officer who has a smile on his face even if he's in a captured territory with the enemy. वो निडर है because he knows that his life is for his nation.
That's true. Also, I do believe that every film has its own story, and every film and every concept is perhaps different from another. But there has been a lot of comparisons, and a lot of people are drawing a lot of comparisons when it comes to an army movie or a soldier movie, because we have of late seen a lot of them, and especially considering the hype that Uri created. So do you think, will there be anything new or perhaps different that we can expect here?
It's a short film, right? So Mini, it's a very different emotion that we're trying to convey. Uri was a great film. I absolutely loved it. So was Sher Shah. But they were different from each other, right? So Uri was a different film. Sher Shah was a different film. I loved and enjoyed both. I cried in both the films. It touched my heart. I think Verses of War is more poetic. Verses of War, that's why it's called Verses of War.
I think this is beautifully put, and perhaps I already feel that I should keep my tissue box ready as soon as Verses of War will also come on screen. I think that's been a pattern with soldier and army movies because it really touches your heart.
Mini, look out for the writing, look out for the poetry. When you watch this, just like the teaser lines, जा देने की तड़प बार बार उठती है, जंग भी करते हैं हम मोहब्बत की तरह.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we all have been loving the small snippets of poetry that you have been putting on your social media. I think it's great. It is very touching for sure. Also, having said that, I just cannot miss congratulating you on the success of Inside Edge season 3. I mean, it went
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
So congratulations for that. And
Yeah.
do you think with that, has Inside Edge in itself created a sort of legacy, and can we see more and more seasons with every coming year? Do you think it has created sort of market?
More and more seasons is a lot of work. I think there's a lot of people, Karan Anshuman to begin with, the creator, to put it down together. But yeah, I mean, it's been so much fun creating it and a lot of work. I loved it. I love Vikrant Dhawan, the character. So there's this deep affinity, and I think there's a bit of a cult, a bit of a legacy that's created around the show, around Vikrant Dhawan, the character, this madness that he is, and I do enjoy that. So the second that the guys at Amazon or Excel or Karan picks up the phone and says, "Buddy, we're doing the 4th," I think I'll be on.
Yeah, I think we would love to see that, because I think we can't really get enough of this particular series. Also, having said that, a lot of people, and I'm not even kidding when I asked, are there any questions for Vivek Oberoi specifically? I'm going to interview him soon. Majorly, since we are on the subject of platforms, a lot of people really ask me this: why don't we see enough of you in the movies playing with those mainstream genres? Like, it's been so long, Krish, and that Saathiya vibe. We've seen you in romcom, we have seen you playing a villain. You've always experimented with your work, but वो एकदम commercial वाला vibe है, वो उसमें इतना time क्यों लग रहा है, Vivek? Why can't we see so much?
You're absolutely right. I think I've been a little distracted with setting up my university. That took a few years of a lot of time and focus. I founded a university in Gujarat, which is India's first startup and innovation university. It's quite a massive exercise. We've got 15 colleges, 25,000 students, both physical and digital. So that took some time and effort as a founder. I set up a few startups, a few companies that are now doing quite well and have become quite sizable. So those took some precious time and years. But now that they're sorted and I've created enough infrastructure, I got back to content, and then COVID ho gaya. 2 years to isi mein nikal gaye. But I've been keeping myself busy in COVID, setting up my projects, right? So now acting, producing, doing now a film immediately after this. I'm just shooting Dharavi Bank right now, which is a very fun series where I play the protagonist, and Anna plays, Sunil Shetty plays the antagonist, and a really great setup, fabulous actors, and really interesting space. As soon as I finish this, then I start a film that I'm shooting in London. Then after that, I come back to Mumbai. Then I'm shooting another film in Mumbai. So now all the announcements and all the films, the shoots, everything are starting to roll.
Looks like an interesting lineup ahead, that means.
Yeah, I think 2022 is going to be a very busy year.
Wow, I think all of us are really glad listening to that. And now that you're already onto something and you are shooting, for all the viewers, he's already on set and he's just taken out some time for this interview out. So we're really glad. On that note, also to remind you specifically, it's been nearly close to 20 years, or in fact, I think full-fledged, legit 20 years of Saathiya, which was purely loved by all. So I would really take
19,
a moment
19.
here. 19? Close.
Yeah,
okay.
December,
are we close enough? Wasn't it
December 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chalo. Anyways, as long as we are so close to that, and I know for a fact, it was your initial set of movies and it changed the game altogether. At least I believe so. I don't know if you would agree to that. It was a game changer per se. Also, now that we are close to that, let's recall the time while you were shooting in that era for a movie like Saathiya and the magnum response that it watched. Do you have any memory from that time which you can recall right now? How was it back then?
So many. I think when I started Saathiya, I was the lead on the film. I was the AD on the film. I was the guy helping with the sets. I was the guy helping with moving lights.
Oh my God!
Saathiya
were you
like
the
a little
clap
family?
Boy?
We did everything. It was the director Rani was the star. I was a newcomer who hadn't had a single film released. I just signed company and started shooting for company at the time. And, for us, it was a little guerrilla filmmaking story. The most respected technician was Anil Mehta, who had just done Lagan and was a legend in his own right.
Yeah.
And I remember there were times where during the shooting of Saathiya, there was no budget for me to have a makeup man even.
Really?
So when we were shooting, I used to shoot one scene. Then I used to go into the nearest restaurant, hotel, change my clothes in the restroom, then step out, then go shoot another scene, then come and go into the closest restaurant, hotel, then change up and then go and shoot another scene. We used to shoot 4-5 scenes in a day because the whole of Saathiya was shot in some 34-35 days.
Wow.
And I remember another thing was when I had to rest because we were shooting some 20 hours, 22 hours. It was crazy number of hours every day. And when I had to rest in between, when we were shooting on the trains and train stations, I used to sleep on the railway benches like a hobo, like a bum. I used to just be there and sleep on the railway benches and then get up when the shot was ready and then start shooting again. Take some rest on that front. It was madness. Saathiya was this crazy, fun experience that was just fabulous. And I remember one amazing memory. Company released on April 12th, 2002. That was my first film. And exactly on that Sunday, that was April 14th, I was shooting for Saathiya near a theatre chain called Getty Galaxy. Are you aware of Getty Galaxy? It's a full commercial theatre, right? So I was shooting Getty Galaxy ke paas mein. There's a railway crossing and there's a scene where Rani's walking across the railway crossing and I'm chasing her and saying Suhani, Suhani and, patawing her. And at that point we were shooting. Normally I used to come to shoot and very normal. Only when Rani used to come, there used to be one security guy or two security people for Rani and that's it. I was shooting. And I think it was just after the afternoon show on Sunday, around I think 1:30 or 2 or something like that. And this bunch of people started calling out to me and started saying Chandu bhai. And Chandu was the character that I played in Company.
Company, yes.
They didn't know what my name was, but they said Chandu bhai, hey to Chandu hai, Chandu hai, Chandu bhai, hey Chandu bhai. They started shouting, hey Company khalas, hey Company khalas. So I was feeling the kick out of it because I knew that Company had become a success. People were loving it. And this was first hand. They were coming out of the show from Getty Galaxy, walking and saying. Then suddenly, dhire karke, there was a crowd of 500,000 people all around it. 1,000 log aa gaye and they started screaming, chanting. They had to get me out of there because the crowds were coming into the shoot area. They got me out. They pushed me into a makeup van. Mujhe wahan band kar diya. And I think for 30 minutes I was inside there confused ki ye kya ho raha hai. And I remember my friend, the director of the film, Shad Ali, who was the director of Saathiya, came in, he opened the door and looked at me and he said, "Bhai, hum shoot to nahi kar payenge because pura pack ho gaya, crowd ho gaya, jam. We have to get you out of here. So, there's the cops, they've come with their police ka blue van. You have to get into the police van and you have to exit from it because bahut hangama ho gaya." And then he looked at me, he came, he gave me a hug. He said, "Bhai, tu star ban gaya yaar." And I was like, "What?" And literally when I stepped out of that van, the guy who went in and the guy who came out were two different people for me. I was like, oh my God, this is for me. This is all real.
Wow.
And it was a whole different experience. And I remember that moment so clearly.
And that too after your very first movie. I mean, it must have felt like, wow, I think I've arrived and I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. That love from fans, that acknowledgement, that's awesome.
But also, it's nearly 2 decades for you now, from then to now. If we look back at the journey today and if I ask you to recall how it all started, I mean, there has been a lot of big moments right in the very beginning, right, for you, per se. But if I ask you, what made you the Vivek Oberoi you today are? Do you remember the struggle or perhaps your very first audition?
Yeah, absolutely, Minnie. And I tell this to all people, when they come to ask me for advice, when newcomers come to me, I say, don't learn from people's success, learn from their failures. Because the failures are what make you who you really are. If I go back to my struggle years, they were crazy. I mean, I came back from New York University ready to be launched like every other star son. My father was making a film for me. Abbas Mustanji were directing it. The script was being written. And then I had a crisis of conscience. I said, no, I can't allow my dad to take a risk like this with his wealth and his money. And I said, where is my merit? Where's my struggle? I told my dad, I said, you struggled. You came out on your own merit as an actor. I want to do this on my merit. And he said, no, but I struggled so that you would have a platform. And it was a very interesting moment where he was worried about me, but at the same time, he respected my decision. You know what I mean, Minnie? He respected the fact that I was getting it on a platter.
Absolutely.
And I said no. And after that followed 18, 19 months of struggle, of going to places. And because of my father's name and respect, I never used his last name. I just went everywhere as Vivek Anand. I dropped the Oberoi.
Wow.
The struggles, the rejections, the waiting in lines outside offices for 8 hours, 10 hours.
You have been in line?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And when I would enter, Hindustan mein एक चीज बहुत ज्यादा मिलती है और बिल्कुल फ्री एडवाइस. बहुत सारे लोग मुझे एडवाइस करते थे, नहीं तुम एक्टर नहीं बन सकते यार, तुम कुछ और बन लो, तुम ये कर लो, तुम कैमरा डिपार्टमेंट ज्वाइन करो, तुम वो कर लो. So people used to tell me that, and that made my resolve stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think somewhere because I saw those rejections, I went through that struggle, I went through that fire. When I got my success, I valued it, and I realized one more thing, it made me strong. So when life had difficult times, and I went through some very difficult times in life, professionally, emotionally, at the same time, things went wrong for me. But I had the strength to fight it. I had the strength to face it. And I think that comes from the fact that I was willing to go out there and struggle. I was willing to go out there, and I was confident that I'm self-made. So if you have made yourself, then nobody can break you. There's only you and him. The man upstairs, that's it.
That's true. And beautifully put, perhaps. And I think this is what makes you what you are today. And I really had so much fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining
in.
Thank you, and
likewise.
I say, jaldi milte raha karo. Don't give us so many gaps.
Done.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for joining me.
That was a lovely interview. Thank you. Bye.
Same here. I enjoyed. Bye-bye.